Level 0, the storm that never became one. 39 to 73 miles an hour, not a hurricane. It does not get a category, it does not get a number. And the local news calls it a tropical storm while people go to work. In June of 2001, a tropical storm named Allison sat down on Houston and refused to leave. It topped out at 60 miles an hour. It never became a hurricane, not for 1 minute of its life. Over 6 days, it dropped 38 inches of rain on the fourth largest city in America. Quick thing before we start climbing. If you are into this, subscribe, like, and drop a comment. It genuinely helps the channel. The bayous came up through the storm drains. Downtown hospitals lost power with patients still inside because the generators were in the basement and the basement was full of water. The medical center flooded from underneath through its own tunnels. Crews carried people down darkened stairwells by hand. 50 people died, 23 of them in Texas. The bill came to $8.5 billion, which in today's money is over $14 billion. Then something happened that had never happened before. They retired the name. Allison is the only Atlantic tropical storm to have its name taken out of rotation without ever once being a hurricane. The list has not started yet, and it has already drowned a city. Level 1, Category 1, 74 miles an hour. That is the exact number where a tropical storm becomes a hurricane and where the National Hurricane Center starts using the phrase very dangerous winds. Category 1 is the one people ride out. It strips shingles. It drops old trees onto power lines and takes the signs off gas stations. On television, it usually gets called weak or minimal or just a Category 1. In June of 1972, a Category 1 named Agnes came ashore in Florida with 75-mile-an-hour winds, went back out over the Atlantic, and came in a second time over New York. It killed 122 people. Here is the part that matters. 113 of those deaths were flooding. The Susquehanna River rose until it swallowed Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania, went over the top of the levees, and put water on the second floor of buildings 300 miles from where the storm first came ashore. Elmira, New York went under with it. $2.1 billion of damage. From the weakest hurricane the scale has. The wind was never the problem. The problem was the water it carried inland, and the water does not check what category you are before it rises. Level 2, Category 2, 96 to 110 miles an hour. The official wording changes to extremely dangerous winds and extensive damage. This is where roofs start leaving, not shingles, roofs. Trees do not lose branches, they come out of the ground with the root plate attached. Power goes out for weeks instead of days. September of 2008, Hurricane Ike came ashore at Galveston, Texas as a Category 2. A Category 2 pushed a wall of seawater over an entire barrier island. On the Believer Peninsula, next door, entire neighborhoods were scraped down to bare pilings and empty lots. Ike killed at least 112 people and did $19 billion in damage. Hold on to that number, 112 deaths, Category 2. The reason is something the scale does not measure at all. Ike was enormous. Its wind field stretched hundreds of miles across, and a wide, slow storm shoves far more ocean ahead of it than a small, violent one does. The scale reads the wind speed at the center of the storm. The water is being moved by the entire width of it. Those are two completely different things, and only one of them has a number. Level 3, Category 3, 111 miles an hour, and the language changes again. Devastating damage will occur. This is also the line where the government stops saying hurricane and starts saying major hurricane. August of 2005, Hurricane Katrina came ashore in Louisiana. Out at sea, it had been a monster, 175 miles an hour, but it weakened on the way in. At landfall, Katrina was a Category 3. Roughly 1,200 people died, $75 billion in damage. It is the costliest hurricane in United States history, and one of the deadliest disasters this country has ever had of any kind. A Category 3 did that. Not with wind. The surge came up the shipping channels, the levee system failed in more than 50 places, and 80% of New Orleans went under. Some neighborhoods sat in standing water for weeks. Tens of thousands of people ended up in the Superdome without power, and thousands more waited on their own rooftops to be lifted off by helicopter. So we are 3 levels up a 7-level scale, and the worst storm in modern American history is already behind us. That should tell you something about what this scale is actually ranking. Level 4, Category 4, 130 miles an hour. The official description is now a single word, catastrophic. At this speed, well-built houses lose the roof structure and some of the exterior walls. Not shingles, walls. August of 2017. Hurricane Harvey came ashore in Texas as a Category 4, with gusts near 145 miles an hour. Then it stopped moving. Harvey stalled over the coast and rained for 4 days. Nederland, Texas recorded 60 inches. 60 inches of rain in one storm. The National Hurricane Center called it the most significant tropical cyclone rainfall event in United States history. More than 300,000 buildings flooded and about 500,000 cars. $125 billion, which ties Katrina for the most expensive storm this country has ever had. Harvey killed 68 people, all but 3 of them drowned. 16 years earlier, Allison had done the same thing to the same city at 60 miles an hour. Harvey did it at 130. 2 storms, 5 levels apart on the scale, and the thing that actually killed people was identical both times. And look where we are. Level 4 came ashore as a genuine Category 4, and almost nobody died from the Category 4 part. They died from the part of the storm with no number on it at all. Level 5, Category 5, 157 miles an hour and up. Until very recently, there was nothing above this. Category 5 is not a range. It is everything left over. 3 storms have hit the continental United States at Category 5, and comparing them breaks the scale completely. August of 1992, Hurricane Andrew crossed South Florida at 165 miles an hour. It erased subdivisions down to the concrete slab. The wreckage was so total that Florida threw out its building code and wrote a new one, $26.5 billion. Andrew killed 23 people. August of 1969. Hurricane Camille came ashore in Mississippi with winds estimated near 200 miles an hour. Estimated because it destroyed the instruments that were measuring it. Camille killed 256 people. And in 1935, the Labor Day hurricane hit the Florida Keys and killed 408, many of them veterans building a railroad, waiting on an evacuation train that arrived too late. Same category. 23 deaths, 256, 408. The wind speeds barely moved between those 3. The death tolls moved by a factor of 18. What moved was where the water went, how much warning people had, and whether there was anywhere to go. None of that is on the scale. Level 6, the category that does not exist. Category 5 has no ceiling. It opens at 157 miles an hour and it never closes, which means the strongest storm ever recorded and a storm that barely crossed the line get the exact same number on the map. In 2024, 2 climate scientists published a paper arguing that this has become a real problem. James Cosson and Michael Weiner proposed closing Category 5 at 192 miles an hour and opening a Category 6 above it. It is not a thought experiment. 5 storms since 2013 would already be in it. Typhoon Haiyan reached about 195 miles an hour before it came ashore in the Philippines. Hurricane Patricia off the Pacific coast of Mexico in 2015 hit 215. That is the strongest wind ever measured in a tropical cyclone anywhere on this planet. So the top of the scale is a number that 5 storms have already gone past, and the scale still counts only one thing. So here's a question for you. The strongest storm on this list killed 23 people. A level 3 killed 1,200. A storm that never even earned a category drowned a city. If the number does not tell you how many people die, what is the number for? Drop it in the comments and tell me what you want measured next.